Well, hello, welcome. My name is Kevin Furman, and this is the E3LC Book of the Month. We're doing a new book this month, and it's on being efficient with things. So the E3LC stands for E3 Leadership Training and Coaching, and it's what I do to help people, live a better life, if you will, and in the process, help myself do the same. And so this book of the month is just a way to give it a framework and just share and give some insights that we all have learned throughout our lives, and just reminders of like, oh yeah, I forgot I used to do that, or that's a great idea, whatever. So as of late, it's going to be as of now, it's going to be me talking about the book from this month, which is The Daily Edge by David Horsager. I hope I'm saying that right, Dave. So I wanted to go through this. Now, the Daily Edge is about how to be more effective day to day. So it's simple strategies to increase efficiency, which is, being effective, right? So the idea is to do, it's in this book, is to do small little things that will just propel your productivity up. And that's really what I'm trying to get to, is that's what the efficient with things is all about. Just being efficient, making sure you're being as efficient as you can with the things that you're doing, so you have more time to be with people, to do the fun things you want to do in life, whatever it is, right? So the way he's got this organized is there are 31 tips. And so I'm sure he was looking for a tip a day kind of approach, because 31 is not a number you would just naturally go to unless you're thinking about a month. So anyway, so I'm going to do about 8 of these a week. And so we're going to dive into the first 8 this week. So he calls them tips. So he has tips 1 through 31 and all of that. Now, before I jump into the tips, which are going to go fairly quickly, he talks about making sure that you do the things that we're talking about. And it's not like you have to do all of them, right? It's sort of a pick the ones that are going to be best for you, and when they stop working, do something else, right? So he's trying to put out that, look, you can't do everything perfectly. We're human beings, but you can stack the odds in your favor. And so that's kind of what he's going for in a nutshell. That's not the way he worded it, but that's what I took away from it anyway. And so and I can say I am not implementing, or have not implemented, all 31 of these in my life. There's a few I've done in varying degrees, and so what it would be interesting to just see which ones seem to resonate with you, and which ones seem to give you some thoughts on how to be more effective with your efficient with your time. So his first one, all right, so he goes into this, but really his first tip is he calls it the 90-day quick plan. Right? So, which, people think of quick plans. 90 days doesn't necessarily pop in right away. Quick doesn't mean 90 days. Quick is like now. We live a microwave, instantaneous, gotta have it yesterday kind of society these days. And when you say 90-day quick plan, it's almost like an oxymoron. And what he's getting into is this. A lot of people make resolutions, especially around January 1st, beginning of the calendar year, whatever that is, and say, all right, this is the year. And they make these grandiose plans, and 2 weeks in, they're wondering, where did I put that paper where I wrote that down, right? So, and that's common. I've done it in the past. I've tried not to do that, and with varying degrees of success. And from the range of, I'm not going to make any resolutions. Oh, that's great. All right, I got no goal whatsoever, right? So that doesn't work necessarily. And I have goals ongoing, but as far as like new resolutions, I've done that. I've also done the make too big of plans, right, and then just get overwhelmed. I've done and everywhere in between, really. And so what he's talking about is like, look, don't get all crazy. Just make a plan do something for 90 days. Stick with it for 90 days. And he's talking about creating a habit. And he mentions this, that a lot of people have said in the past, it takes 21 days to create a habit. And he says, well, I don't know about that. And I'm beginning to jump on board with Dave on this one, in that I don't know if it's just 21 days that'll actually cement it. I think you can create something new, but if you're going to change, if you're going to get rid of a bad habit and create a new one, 21 days I don't think is enough for most people. I could be wrong for some people, for sure. I mean, everybody's different. Some people just turn it on, right? They decide, this is what I'm going to do. Boom, it's done, over, right? I've heard stories of that. People from quitting addictions, just overnight, done. They just stop. Cold turkey, as they say. And that's not a high majority of people, right? It's a bigger process. So he's saying, look, it's going to take 90 days. So in those 90 days, what you're really trying to do is answer these questions, and to start, like to start the process and to get going here. So he says, where am I? Right. So if you want to go somewhere, you got to know where you are to get directions, right? You can't say to somebody, hey, I want to go to Italy and give me directions. Well, they're going to have to know where you are now, right, to tell you how to get to Italy. Because if you're in Siberia, that's a very different plan than if you're in Zimbabwe, right? So whatever, right? So it's just saying that you've got to know where you are before you can get directions to where you want to go. You may know where you want to go, but you've got to know where you are first. And so that's sort of his point. And then he says, look, where am I going to go in 90 days? I may not get all the way to Italy or whatever, right? But in 90 days, where am I going? What is the plan, right? I'm here, I want to get here. Okay, great, right? And then the biggest thing I think he asks next, and it's always the big one, which is, why am I going there? Why am I trying to get there? What's the point? What's driving me? What's the desire in this, right? Why? Why is one of the most important questions you'll ever ask yourself and ask other people. And it's very impactful if you really, really dig into why and you go deep about it. One of the things in my coaching endeavors here is I'm finding out that is becoming more and more true. That it's all about who people are, and it's not about what they're doing. And why they do it is so much more important than what it is they're actually doing. And what they're doing is exciting and fun, and I don't want to take away from any of that, but just when you're trying to understand what people are at, what's going on, the why is really a big deal. Now, his next question is, how are we going to get there? So, okay, and then his fifth question is, how are we going to get there? And his sixth question is, how are we going to get there? And he tells a little story about he was trying to help other people walk through this process. Like, well, where are we going to go in 90 days? Exactly. And so he started asking the question, well, how are we going to get there? And so they give him we're going to work on our productivity, and we're very general, vague, we're going to be better, right? And then he's like, no, really, like, how are you going to get there? So they stopped. They're like, well, I just told you, like, you just let it sit. And they went, well, okay, actually what we need to do is, okay, there's these 3 things we got to handle and those 4 things over here, and we got to make sure we talk to this person. So there's some details to it, right? And he's like, okay, but how are you going to get there? And they were like, what? And so they realized there was even further to go. And once they got down to that 3rd time of him asking, it really got to the real deal, like how they are actually going to implement what was going on. So his point, without saying it, was, look, figure out why you want to go somewhere, and then deal with the details. Don't get mixed up with those. Do why first, then get the details, and then actually map it out. If it's a big goal, if you're trying to get somewhere really far, well, then get some milestones happening. And I realized that recently in my life. I would set up these big plans, and I didn't set up milestones to give myself a place to say, hey, you're on track. Good job. Pat myself on the back for getting to the milestone, not just the ending. I'm still working on that process. I'm still trying to figure out how to enjoy the process, not just I'll be happy when I get the goal, but I'm happy getting to the goal, right? I'm still after all this time figuring that out. Silly. All right. Anyway, that's his first tip, right? 90 days. That's the deal. So that's the deal there. Tip number 2 calls DMAs. And DMAs are difference-making actions, right? So when you set up your to-do list, a lot of people have different ways to do this. And so he's just saying, look, Okay, so here's one thing. What he's trying to do is he's trying to give focus and intentionality to the most important things you do every day, or you do each day. So instead of having a list of 80 things and, you know, like, okay, here are my things I got to get done, most important, or whatever. He says, look, well, hold on a second. Pick 5. 5 of the things that have to get done today. They're the biggest impact things you got to get done. And then he says, look, then worry about those, right? There's going to be other things on the list, but get those 5 things done. And is really, he talks about every day, just every day you wake up, get a sticky note, write the 5 DMAs down. And I can say, I haven't done this, and I'm considering doing it. I'm going to work on the way I have been doing it, because it generally works pretty well, but there's something to be said for this. Anyway, so he says sit down every morning, write them down, number them 1 to 5, and then one of his main points after that is just attack those first. And he talks about it later in the book, but it's not just that you have the 5 things to do and they're just there to irritate you throughout the day. So no. Those are the 5 things you handle. Those are the things that are going to make the biggest impact on what you're trying to get done. Get them done, and then you can deal with all the other stuff. Now, that's not always functionally possible. You may have to like rely on other people to get them done, so you got to make a phone call, wait for them, etc. Right? Stuff happens, but you're actively working on it. You make the phone call early in the day, get it rolling, then move on to something else. Right? When it comes back around, handle it. So he's just saying, look, it boils down to get something on there that's like essential. Basically, it's got to get done. It has to happen, and then work on those first. Right? Block out time early in the day to handle those things, and then you handle all the other fires that are going on, or whatever else have happening. So it's really simple. And all these are really simple tips. So this is gonna go fairly quickly, but that's something to consider. There's a lot of credence to getting rid of clutter in a lot of areas, but even in your to-do list, right? There are people that have 4 to-do lists, and you know, they're just shuffling things from one to another. Sometimes that works really well for people. There's a lot of pieces rolling around. People they tend to be very detail oriented. That can work really well for them because they like to have it, you know, mapped out what's going on. Great, do that, right? If that seems overwhelming, like, oh, are you kidding me? Okay, then don't do that, right? Do a different way. And so if it is more, I want to simplify things, great, then just top 5, get them done, great. There you go. Then you can cross them off, feel good about crossing them off, move on to the next day, right? So there you go. All right, tip number 3, he is calling it the power hour. And that's the opposite of what I thought when I read the title. Like the power hour is like, okay, here's my hour to sit down and just get done with everything I got to get done, and just no distractions, whatever. And he's kind of talking about that. I mean, that's basically what it is. And the thing he puts it's a little bit different than what I thought. I thought that's what it is. You're just going to like power through and that's it. But he's talking about, it's a little bit more deep than that, in that you actually tell people, if you work with other people in an office, or if you are a manager of people, you tell them, look, I am not available from 9 to 10 on this day, every day, whatever. That's when I'm handling the crucial things. I need to have very focused, uninterrupted time to handle my stuff so I can be more present for everyone else. And you set that up. You set up and you're just like, that's what I'm doing. I'm handling all the tough phone calls, the emails I got to take, you know, stuff I have to write, just an hour of just boom, 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 no stop, just go. And I think there's, you know, that not only does that get a lot done in an hour, and you'd be surprised how much you can get done in an hour when there's no distractions. He cites a few things about distractions here and there, and I've read another book about that recently, that just distractions just cost so much time. So it's just sit down, get it done, move on with your day, right? 3 things he says is go public, let everybody know, share the idea, right? So maybe everybody has the same power hour in the office where we're all just doing our thing, not interrupting anybody else, or just handling our stuff, right? And then be consistent is the last thing he talks about in here, which is true for almost everything as far as being effective, is consistency. That's the biggest thing about it all. And there's areas where I'm very consistent, and there's other areas where I am not. And oh man, does that irritate me? All right, number 4, focus. Right, so focus, and his biggest point about this is the multitasking idea. He says, look, you can get things done if you focus on each individual thing as you do it, full out 100%. You can be more productive if you instead of trying to do 5 things at once. And so there are people that agree with that statement, and there are people that don't. And I've gone back and forth a lot about the whole multitasking thing in my life. I think what I finally landed on is that there's the appearance of multitasking. And I mean, we all multitask because there are things always going on, and then we put our attention on them and move them forward, right? So there are things happening at your house when you're at work, right? The air conditioning is running, or the heater is still running, so your house doesn't overheat or get too cold, whatever. That's going on. You don't have to manage it, right? It's things. That's a dumb example in the sense of it's like an automatic machine, but that's true with a lot of things in our lives. They're automatic. We've automated so much in our life that they're happening. We don't have to put our attention on them unless there's something needed. So there are multiple things going on all the time. People are doing things, families doing things, we're meeting with them, whatever, right? So that doesn't mean you can't focus on one thing at a time. Stop doing that and then focus on another thing. And when you do that quickly, it has the appearance of multitasking. And so that's kind of where I'm sitting with the whole multitasking thing. He makes a point of just like, do one thing full out, which I definitely agree. So really it's focus, right? So that may mean different things to different people. So it's very difficult to teach someone how to focus, right? So it's one of those things like, how do you teach someone how to focus? You can talk about what it looks like for certain people. And for me, I definitely get very quiet, and I'm thinking quite a bit. I'm not worried about anything else about whatever exactly what's in front of me, right? And I'm just doing that. There's nothing else going on. Just totally in the moment. That's focus. That's what it looks like for me. Some of the people, it's a little bit different than that, right? So whatever it is for you, do that, and that's it. Now, this actually leads into tip 5 to some degree. Tip 5 is, he calls it decide now. And so, unfortunately, I have a bad example of my desk. I'm not going to show you. I have some papers strewn about, and I fallen into this habit of letting them sit there. And this chapter reminds me, like, no, don't do that. That's a cluttered mind. It's not just a cluttered desk, but it's a cluttered mind, which, by the way, there's people like, yeah, but I know everything is, and clutter means you are an active mind and you're smart. There's all kinds of things that people have said about a cluttered desk or a cluttered work area. And I've bought into those things too. And I think I'm resting on this, that I want my outward environment to reflect my inner thinking. So if I have cluttered spaces and things just strewn about, that must be what's going on up here. And I don't want that to go on up here. So I'm working on it. Excuse me. So I'm not going to show you my desk. It's not horrible, but it's not messy. But it makes a point. Like, it happens, right? It just happens. Even with people that think they're working really hard at trying to be effective with things, or efficient with things, but stuff happens. You're busy, you run around. I'll get it later, right? And his point is like, no, don't, don't, right? When you're gonna work, if there's stuff there, sit down. He says, look, you start by, how do you clean this up, right? He says, start by, you think, right? You think about, what does this really need to be, what needs to be done with this thing, this piece of paper, this bill, whatever, right? Does it need to be filed? Does it need to get handled right now? Does it need to be put in another place that I'm going to find later, again, in a file? And he talks about that a little bit. There's another book that I've read recently, again, that talks about having a folder, like a filing system, where you can put things in either by month or by day of the month or whatever, week. I tend to do it by week, day of the week. And when I need something, on a certain day, I'll put it in that day, right? If it's a bill, I have an accounts payable folder put it in there, right? And I check that when I'm doing accounting. So it's just, doesn't need to be filed, doesn't need to get handled. But instead of just putting it down and saying, I'll do it later, you do that now. And it's either, I'm going to handle this tomorrow. Great, put it in tomorrow's file, whatever, right? So it's not just in your space, but it's actually decided upon what's going to happen with it. And just take the time to do it. So his last kind of bit is, if at all possible, do it, use it, throw it, or complete it now, right? So you're not likely coming back to it. And if you do, if it keeps coming back, it's just creating more chaos for you, or just more irritation really than anything else. So really it's just decide right now what you're going to do with this thing. Do you need to handle it, or do you need to file it? Do you need to use it? Do you need to throw it away, get it out of your space forever, give it to someone, donate it, whatever, right? Just do that. All right, number 6, I'm going to move on. So 6 is called SEEDS First, and SEEDS is an acronym he uses when you're going to decide upon something new, if you're going to do something big, if you're going to launch into something big, like a big meeting or a big endeavor at work, or just start the day. His main point is really, if you're going to accomplish something big, and I was looking at notes in the book here, it's really hard to accomplish something big when you're sick, tired, overwhelmed, etc. So he says SEEDS is his way of just keeping track of how to stay healthy and alert and ready to take it on, right? Ready to get in the zone. So SEEDS is, S is the first one, sleep, right? So get some sleep, get good quality sleep, figure out what it is getting you not sleeping, and sort that out, right? And it could be all kinds of things going on there. You might, anywhere from you need a new pillow to you've got some serious things you got to sort out with some people, maybe even therapy, right? It could, the gambit, and I'm not saying everybody needs therapy. I'm just saying it could get to that point where you're just like, I don't know what's going on. I need somebody to help me with this. Okay, great. Could be somewhere in the middle there, where like maybe get a coach, figure out what is going on and sort out priorities and help you figure out what's really important to you. Could just be, you just need to manage getting sleep. Just stop staying up and doing nothing important, like TV or something random or online stuff that's not really forwarding your life. Turn it off, go to bed, right? So that's this first one. The first E is exercise. So it just makes a quick point of, look, if you have a lack of focus and energy and whatever, just, okay, start exercising, start moving your body so it has more energy in the tank, sort of his point. So sleep, exercise, kind of what everybody says. And he's not talking about like, okay, now you're going to go to the gym 18 times a week, right? It's just do something, take a walk, start with that, start with something simple and build upon that. So again, with the consistency thing, I'm going to throw this in there. He didn't write this, but as far as exercise, it's just consistent, even if it's minimal, right? Just taking a short walk, that's pretty minimal, hard for some even, but just something as minimal as that. It's not like you have to go to the gym and lift weights and do 4 hours of work, right? Just calm down, right? Just take a quick walk out to the curb and back. If that's how, do something. And be consistent with it every day. Do something every day with it. Eventually you get to a kind of a routine where like 3 days a week you do one thing, other days of the week you do others, whatever. You can organize it however you want. Get a professional if you're not sure what to do. All right, the third E, eat right. So all the things we're supposed to eat, but we don't. That thing. He's talking about that, right? So eat vegetables, eat fruits, balanced meals, all that sort of thing. Now there's lots of different opinions about eating right, what right means. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I am going to say this. I do consult, which is different than coaching, by the way, on health. And I work with a program called Health Point. If you're interested, email me, kfurman@e3lc.net, or send a comment or something. And just, if you know someone that's wanting to get their health under control, get a healthy lifestyle as opposed to not. And Health Point is not a diet program per se. It's a way to learn how to be healthy and eat healthy. All right. The D stands for drink water, and lots of it, as his advice. and the S at the end is source. And he's talking about your spiritual source. So I just put in there, instead of source, I would say spirituality. And I mean that in the sense of your God, however you connect to the eternal. And that's the point he's making also. He just used the word source. I would use spirituality, but source makes a lot of sense too, because some people, spirituality can put them off. But I don't mean in the sense of religion per se. It could be that, for sure. That's one version of spirituality. There's other ones where when you connect with your true self, that's a form of spirituality. When you connect with your purpose in life, right? That's another form of spirituality. So there's lots of ways to cut that word. So he's just talking about source. Whatever that means to you, great, right? If whatever religion that is affiliated for you, great. If it's not, there's another way to tap into the eternal kind of wellspring of life, if you will. So anyway, so that's that tip. 7. This one's pretty quick and pretty self-explanatory. 7 is manage your energy. So there's more to it, but basically he says, do the things that are going to complement your energy levels. So if you need a lot of brain power and a lot of effort, do it when your energy level is very high. For a lot of people, that's during the day, morning time, right? Morning to midday is when they're peak energy, ready to go, brains on, right? The afternoon, that's when the energy starts to wane. So you don't want to do a lot of heavy thinking at that time. It's just going to make you drag down even more and feel like you're even less productive. So he's just like, look, and some people are the opposite. Some people are, they sluggish morning and then they're high flying afternoon, right? So whatever your version is, figure out what it is you need the most energy for and do it during your high time. That's his whole point. Great point. And I certainly can revisit that one. I've thought about that in the past, but it's been a while. So I'm going to look at that one again. The last one for this week is called Log It, L-O-G It. So he's just kind of making a point about just where you're trying to create habits, you're trying to be more efficient with everything. The best thing you can do is just track what you're doing, right? Figure out what you want to do. Say, all right, I'm going to do X, whatever that is. And then start writing down when you're doing it. Like, when do you actually spend time doing the goal you're setting? And then go a step further. And if you want to figure out, well, where's all this time going? Start logging what you're doing, right? And he has a little chart here. Every 15 minutes, he's supposedly writing down what I do every 15 minutes. And so it just sort of is a log. It's a way to look back and go, okay, was I being effective with my time or not? Am I being efficient at all? And so after a while, right, you start logging it faithfully. Once you faithfully log it for a week or two, then you can go back and say, all right, well, here's what I was doing. Was I being efficient with my time, or was I getting a lot of distractions, or was I just ignoring what was important? What happened? Rather than every day feeling like, okay, I did my best, but I'm not getting anywhere, which I've been at. I've been in that place. This is a way you can find out. You can go back and go, look, yeah, these days were great. That day was not. That happened. There was a trend, that I can see a trend now. Great. Then you can start to adjust. So I think that's a really good simple tip. It's really hard to be not hard. It can seem hard is what I meant, to log what you do, write down what you're doing. It seems kind of odd, different. Yeah, it is, but it actually is very effective. I've done it before. I haven't done it recently, but I've done it before, and it is very effective. You get very attuned to what you're doing, and are you actually spending the time that you want? So it's a great one. All right, so which he has some quotes in here in the book. This one is, I have this up on my wall, actually, not in this room, but another room, and this is by Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. So excellence isn't just something you do one time. It's like, that was excellent. It's you become someone who brings excellence into the world by who they are, and they bring it by everything they do. I try to do that. I try to work at that a lot. And that's a pretty high standard. So I know, and I'll just say, as of late, I've been failing on too many things. So this week is going to be a new week of resurgence and get back on track here. So there you go. So there's the Daily Edge, David Horsager. We're going to do 9 through 16 next week, and it's going to be Monday nights for now. You'll see a lot of you will see this on YouTube. So it doesn't matter the day, time, but just if you want to see this live, you want to come be part of the conversation, which would be great, then we can actually share ideas and see how things are going. Read the book. We're going to do 9 through 16, and then we can talk about any insights you had or I had about those, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. If you have any comments or questions, please get a hold of me either in the comment section here or kfurman@e3lc.net. We'll see you next time. Take care.